Are randomized controlled trials the gold standard for evaluating AI tools? With the vast amount of clinical data available, are there alternative approaches to evaluation in real time? Is AI a democratizing force that enables privilege that can scale across all patient populations? I'm Dr. Kirsten Bibbins-Domingo, Editor-in-Chief of JAMA and the JAMA Network. This conversation is part of a series of videos and podcasts hosted by JAMA, in which we explore the issues surrounding the rapidly evolving intersection of AI and clinical practice. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Atul Butte, who is the Distinguished Professor and Director of the Baker Computational Health Sciences Institute at the University of California, San Francisco. He is also the Chief Data Scientist over all 6 academic health systems in the University of California. He's received numerous acknowledgments and awards, including election to the National Academy of Medicine and being recognized by the Obama administration as a White House champion of change in open science. Welcome, Dr. Butte.
Thanks so much for having me today.
Okay, I hope we can do this on a first-name basis. We know each other pretty well.
Of course we do.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. So Atul, I love preparing for these interviews because it reminds me of all of the outstanding work our guests have done. You are somebody who has a long history as a research scientist in precision medicine, in genetics, and you have, over the last number of years, taken on this pretty big role of really overseeing the data across University of California campuses. And I'm wondering, what makes you excited about this big task of unleashing data, which I've heard you say before? We know that data is the thing that fuels artificial intelligence, which is the focus of this series. What made you decide to continue to research but take on this role, and what makes you excited about what you're doing now?
Yeah, so eight and a half years ago, I got this opportunity to move to UCSF and the University of California Health System as an umbrella entity to build and then eventually use this central data warehouse. When you have 6 academic health centers, and more importantly, you have these natural experiments going on, right? Each clinician, each department takes care of patients slightly differently based on their training. When you have all these natural experiments, you can start to compare and contrast against each other, right? So it's comparative effectiveness to a new scale, right? We can compare every drug, every device, every biologic, because we use them all in the University of California. That to me is super appealing. And I think in general, we have now near 100% deployment of electronic health records in the United States. But in general, nobody's looking at any of that data. But to me, it's a tragedy now if we don't use all that data to improve the practice of medicine.
So let's describe a few things. Describe for us, our listeners, then how large the University of California is. How many patients are we talking about? What does it mean to think across many different health systems?
In our repository right now, we have 9.1 million patients. So we see about 1.5 million of them every year. We have 10 hospitals, but I think we're in talks to acquire 4 more in the next few months. 1,000 care delivery sites. And so the rough numbers, we have 1 billion and a half drugs that have been prescribed or ordered, 500 million encounters, about 40,000 cancer genomes in the same database, about 50 million medical devices. And all that data is in one central repository that we can use for research.
So then give us an idea. What you're talking about is doing research, but not necessarily setting up experiments, but actually using the way practice is actually happening to gain new insights about what the consequence of those variations in practice actually mean for patients.
It's literally the care patterns and pathways of every single patient that we extract from Epic. So it's every dose of every drug, Every vital sign, every pain score, every respiratory rate, every lab test result is all in the same database. So we can use that to ask and answer questions, but it takes a lot of magic, it's coding magic to make that work. We see a lot of transactions in a health system, right? You have to synthesize that from all the raw data. So this is almost like a cross between comparative effectiveness studies and what the FDA has labeled real world data, real world evidence. This is what happens when we actually use these devices, these drugs, these biologics in real patients. What actually happens? What are the outcomes? And I think and I believe that those outcomes are worthy of study uh, to ensure that all of our patients are benefiting from all these magical devices and drugs the same way they did in the trials. These are simple questions to ask, but incredibly hard to get answers for. It's not just the coding